rocking my boat.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino. And a good Thursday afternoon. How we doing today, everybody? Ryan in Sacktown with you. It is game day. The Kings wrap up the preseason tonight, 7:30 in Los Angeles. Still looking for somebody to explain to me why LA gets the 7:30 starts. I guess maybe because of the traffic. You know, you could have argued the arena being shared before, but what is with the 7:30 starts? Anyways, we're getting you ready tonight for the Kings, and we've got full coverage beginning right here on the Kings Court. I want to hear from all of you. Get up in here. You got the link in the chat. Also, you can hit that QR code or scan that QR code. Would love to have you as part of the show today. We'll get your comments on the screen as well. A lot going on. Actually, it's been relatively quiet in the last 24 hours in Kingsland. We'll get to that in a second. We're brought to you by Bennett's Westside Grill in Rockland, located in the Blue Oaks Town Center. Make sure you get to bennettsrestaurants.com. Check out all 3 locations. You will not be disappointed. Trust me. How? And Fair Oaks. Also, Roseville. That's where you'll find Jerry and Grant and I usually for our lunches. But trust me, you will love the food there. Prime cuts of seafood and steak. That is bennettsrestaurants.com. Do you like the new look to the Kings Court? Give me your feedback. I would love to know what you think. So anyways, exciting news. We are just about there. We are exactly 1 week away from the start of the Kings season, and a lot of questions still up in the air. A lot of excitement about the Doug McDermott signing, which went down yesterday. I've got some news on that. Found out some more details on how that all went down per my sources. So anyways, another cool thing today. Not sure if it's going to happen, but we are efforting Law Murray. Law Murray is the Clippers staff writer for The Athletic. Talk some Clippers basketball with him, what to expect from the Clippers this season. Obviously, breaking news about Kawhi Leonard. He is out indefinitely to start the season. Now, is it a big surprise? Not necessarily. I talked about it on the Kings Court earlier this morning, the shoot around. Make sure that you are subscribed to Apple and Spotify. You get exclusive audio over there, but it will be a very nice treat if Law is able to stop by. He was at shoot around earlier this morning with the Clippers. And really quick, just a quick note on that. James Harden is not going to play tonight. I said that a couple days ago, but it got confirmed today at shoot around. This being the case, the Clippers still intend on playing most of their guys per Law. So hopefully Law Murray can join us here at some point during the show. If not, we've got 90 minutes of content for you. And don't forget, tonight, we've got the post-game show for you. Grant and I will wrap up the preseason. Remember, the game tonight is not on television. You got to go to kings.com to get the game, and you have to live 75 miles within the Golden One Center. I think most of you do. I feel bad for some of those that are out of state, Mark and others. But remember that if you want to watch the game. Nonetheless, we will be there right after the game, wrapping it up. We'll get you all up to date. We'll give you our first thoughts on it. We'll start talking about the roster because it's going to be time to trim down to 15. And you got your 3 two-ways. Which could the Kings convert somebody at this point? Maybe. We'll see. So let's get through tonight first. Let's get to the comments. Bane, what's up, dude? Bane is always the first one in. And again, if you'd like to call the show, the link is in the chat. Happy Wednesday, of course, Bane. It is Wednesday in Bane's world. Hump Day, signed Urban Meyer. You know something that I found really funny before I came to air? It was another fantasy football update. And you know what it was? Devontae Adams went from questionable to healthy. Questionable to healthy. It's funny how a change of scenery can just improve those hamstrings injuries. Really incredible stuff. Anybody that's got Devontae on your fantasy team, you are going to be happy about that. No, Bane, I think the audio and video is good. We're good, brother, but I appreciate it. Dennis, let's go. I'll give you a hell yeah for that. Dougie Fresh, yes. If you were not here yesterday, the Kings officially signed Doug McDermott to bolster the bench, taking that spot that Jalen McDaniels left when he was traded earlier in the week to the San Antonio Spurs. He has since been waived. There was a little bit of chatter that he might, just might, have a little bit of interest in Phoenix, but that does not look to be panning out. Speaking of which, let's kind of start there. Let's top story. It's your Kings, and let's start with Doug. The Kings put out the official release. There it is right there for you, that Doug has been signed. And so, some Kings kind of saw this out of the blue. We talked at length about it yesterday. I think everybody's kind of on the same page that, and I'm going to give credit to James Ham. I was thinking it, but I didn't say it. James Ham said, there is a little bit of a Sasha Vezenkov feel to this. Kind of, could he be the Sasha of last year? That kind of same role to a degree. Time will tell, number one. But number two, the bottom line is Doug gives you a guy that can shoot the ball. Proven shooter from beyond the arc. Yes, 32, about to turn 33. But, as I talked to some more people within the organization and some other sources, this was not something that was out of the blue. In fact, there's been a couple reports here and there that Doug had multiple options. He was weighing those options. What I can tell you is Tuesday night is when this really started to come together. Tuesday night is when there was some clear direction, and that's why the signing or the agreement was announced early on Wednesday. Wait, Bane, today's not Wednesday, right? Wait, today is Wednesday, right, Bane? I'm confused. Anyways, regardless, I think, and I'll go over it really quick, a good signing. Here's Doug's stats for you if you want to check those out. I talked about Doug's dependability yesterday. Dependability to me is huge, especially for a veteran at this stage in his career. If you think he's coming in and is going to be an impact player, then you've got to adjust your thinking. That is not going to be his role on this team. However, could he come in maybe 50, 60, 65 games and give you 8 to 10 minutes off the bench? Maybe one of those guys that can close quarters out when you're trying to get somebody a rest, games where the ball is not falling from beyond the arc. I think Doug is that guy. But as I said yesterday, it does feel a little bit of that pit in my stomach that I had about the forward position. If anything were to happen to the forwards on this team, and remember, you are already dealing without Trey Lyles, who will not be available again tonight. It was going to be tough sledding. And Coach Brown's tried different guys in that spot, most notably Isaiah Jones, who has done well. He's filled in well in spots this preseason, does the little things. But again, there's a reason he is a two-way player, and there's still some development left to go. And that's why Stockton has been doing an excellent job of developing these guys on the two ways. But getting back to Doug, shooting, no matter how old you are, and I know 32 is not that old, but shooting is always going to be at a premium in the NBA. Does he make your defense better? Probably not. Does he make it any worse? I don't think so. So it'll be interesting to see how the Kings play it tonight. We're going to talk about that here in a second. And here we go. My man Dennis, he's always hitting. Dennis, I will acknowledge
me
as one of those guys that is always thinking about roster moves. Always thinking about roster moves. When I pick up my phone, I am guaranteed to have at least one, if not two DMs from Dennis at any given time, which is fine. I love the passion from this fan base. And again, what's it mean to you? I'm going to just put it in layman's terms. Does it matter to you if the Kings win tonight? Does it matter to you if the Kings lose tonight? What is the most important thing for you? What do you need to see coming out of this game tonight? I can tell you what mine is. That's health. I don't want to see any other injuries from this team. It doesn't seem like Kevin Herter is going to get into the mix. He's still going through that protocol of getting back to full strength. And Trey Lyles, as we said, not going to be available. But on the flip side, the Clippers, as Law Murray reported earlier today, or confirmed, I should say, at Shoot Around, that James Harden will not be playing for the Clippers. So I am interested to see how they play basketball. I watched their last game when they opened up the Intuit Dome down in Los Angeles against the Mavericks. James was playing in that game. It's a lot of pick and roll, a lot of ISO. So really interested. Who picks up that responsibility tonight for the Clippers? And also, you got to figure this in too. They're kind of one of those unknown teams in the Western Conference. I don't know what to expect from them. So I'm really hoping that Law Murray, staff writer for The Athletic, covering the Clippers, can join us at some point during the show today. Bane hopping in. I caught Grant's comments at the end of the show. He is also pretty optimistic about McBuckets. They're going to shoot teams out of the gym. Bane, I wouldn't go as far as to say they're going to shoot teams out of the gym. They are currently shooting 25.2% from beyond the arc. But as I've said all this week, I think that number comes up. I fully expect that number to come up. Yes, Dennis, we have Thursday night football as well. Sean Payton making his return to the Superdome in NOLA. How you feeling about that? Which way you going? If you are in our If You Don't Like That Pick'em League, make sure that you get your pick in. Sometimes I forget. These overseas games have killed me. I have forgotten on a couple of those. So get your pick in tonight on that one. You got a couple of rookie quarterbacks going at it. So which way are you going to go? Are you going Spencer Rattler? You going to go Bo Nix? What's it going to be? Thursday nights usually not a ton of offense to really talk about. But the spread as we sit today, Denver -3 in New Orleans. Denver -3. New Orleans last game at home was a little bit of a shootout. Spencer Rattler had his moments, but hopefully we get a good game. Yes. Orlando Robinson, MCL sprain. We've known that for about a week. I don't know why he is listed as questionable. That surprises me, because the Kings' last update was 4 weeks for Orlando Robinson. So I doubt you will see him tonight. And that brings up an entire another conversation about tonight. How do the Kings play this? As a Kings fan, what are you looking for? I talked yesterday about the Domantas Sabonis injury that happened in garbage minutes right before Christmas in the 22-23 season. Now, obviously, that is regular season. This is preseason. But are you wanting to see a conservative approach? Do you put the starters on ice? Was the game in Utah their dress rehearsal, or do you want them to get out there? Do you want to see them carry some momentum into the regular season? The way that I see it is, regardless win or lose, whether the starters play or don't play, you still have 7 days off before opening night. 7 days off. In Minnesota, when they come into the G1C, will actually be playing their second game of the season. So I would like to see Coach Brown take a little bit more of a conservative route with the starters. If they play one spurt, maybe 6 minutes, 8 minutes, I get it. If you play a couple of the starters and you rest Sabonis, you rest Fox, I understand that too. But Coach Brown at practice, remember, he said he does not know what he's going to do. In a perfect world, he does not mind playing them in both games. Grant and I had different opinions when it came to this. Grant thought this would be the game that would be the dress rehearsal. I thought Utah would. Utah ended up being the dress rehearsal as we sit today. But the Kings very well may run everybody out there tonight, which if they do, not a problem. The Clippers are doing the same. However, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard will not be suiting up for them tonight. So what's your take on that? Get in here. Let me know. Let's see. Super thin up front. Super thin. Yes. Very thin up front. Now, the Jalen McDaniels deal did a little bit more than open up a roster spot and open up cap room for the Kings to sign Doug McDermott. There's more to it. When you look at the luxury tax, the Kings are about $1 million under right now. And the reason that is important, the luxury tax, and as it sits right now, they are able to not use their full mid-level exception, but they can use about 11 million of it in certain circumstances. You have to look at the aprons. Go look at Bobby Marks. I'm not going to do a 5-minute speech on it, but basically most of it is there and available. Back to the luxury tax. Here's what's important. If the Kings remain under the luxury tax, that means the tax, actually a part of the tax that all the other teams that are overpay, every team under gets a percentage of that. So it's not just Jalen McDaniels' contract. It wasn't a $1 million decision. It wasn't I think Jalen was making in the neighborhood of $4 million, four and some change. That was the big question. Why did you why did you trade him rather than waive him? Because you still would have carried his hit against the cap if you waived him. So it really is, when you look at it, a bigger decision. And that's why the Kings gave up the second pick, or the second round pick, which is heavily protected, by the way. There's a lot of things to go through there. Too much to go through today. We can do that on future episodes of the Kings Court. But Doug McDermott, no word yet on whether he is going to play tonight or not. I would not be surprised either way. I expect that he's with the team. I have not heard anything from shoot around today other than from Clippers shoot around, which Law Murray gave us the update on. And hopefully Law will be joining us at some point during the show. Athletic staff writer for the Clippers. Would love to talk some Clippers basketball with him. Remember, they're opening up that brand new arena down in LA. They made a couple of acquisitions over the summer. Derrick Jones Jr., one that is notable, they're looking to find their defense. Jeff Van Gundy, now an assistant coach with the Clippers. In fact, let's talk about them for a second. Jeff Van Gundy, an assistant coach, really heavily focusing on the defensive end of the court for the Clippers. Now, the big key to the Clippers, what makes the Clippers go, is Kawhi Leonard, a guy that's had trouble staying on the court. You know what happened with USA Basketball? There was a statement from the Clippers, some ambiguity there about the situation, but Kawhi has still experienced issues with that knee. So he's been going through a rehab process. Now, I played on the Kings Court this morning some audio from Brian Shaw, an assistant coach for the Clippers, and I want to get your take on what he had to say when he was asked about Kawhi. Here's Brian Shaw.
Has Kawhi been able to do anything on court as far as maybe not even 5-on-5, but just practice or anything like that?
No.
What's it looking like for him in terms of when he might?
That's not a question for me.
Come on, head coach Brian Shaw.
We're out here, he has not been a part of what we've been doing, on a daily basis. So I know the kind of company line has been that he's, they're going to be patient with him. So he's doing everything that he can to rehab and strengthen that knee on his own with our medical staff and just dealing with the guys that we have available. Today
I thought the company line comment was a little bit interesting there. And the fact that Kawhi's doing his thing separate from the team, little bit of ambiguity there. My guess is he's rehabbing with the Clippers trainers. But so no Kawhi Leonard with the opening of this new building. The Clippers didn't hurt him, actually, the other night against Dallas. They won 110-96. They're 3-1 so far in this preseason. Second game at that brand spanking new Intuit Dome. Here's the Clippers stats for you if you want to take a quick look at them. Not too bad if you look at it. Aziza Zubac is one of the guys that makes them go. He was a +7 for them, and he's a bigger guy with length. He is young, he's up and coming, and he was definitely a good re-sign for them. So look for him. I want to see how the Kings deal with that length tonight. Certainly is going to be a little bit of an issue depending on who's on the floor. He was 5 of 10 last game, ended up scoring 11 rebounds, though 12 rebounds. He got 3 on the offensive end. We know the focus for the Kings. It's keeping teams off of the offensive end. You got Derek Jones Jr., who's going to be a big part of that team as well. 12 points. He pitched in against the Mavericks, and it was a pretty balanced game overall for the Clippers. But as I look at the entire season and we try to negotiate, we try to predict this Western Conference, you got to put the Clippers in one of those categories that you just don't know. I would say we know the top 3 teams who should be the top 3 at the top of the Western Conference. Then we know the middle of the pack, which includes your Kings, in my opinion. And then there's the bottom of the pack. The Clippers, I have no idea where they fall. Are they falling at the bottom of the pack or the middle of the pack? And a lot of that's going to have to do with Kawhi Leonard's health. A lot of that's going to have to do with James Harden. Remember, the Clippers lost Paul George in the offseason. They've retooled a little bit. They've got Norman Powell as well, who is playing good basketball for them. Clippers fans are excited about what's going on down there. So it should be a good test for the Kings tonight. Remember this, no James Harden tonight for the Kings against the Clippers. And also the Clippers plan on not holding back any minute restrictions on the rest of the group that is available. So a big game for the Kings tonight, 7:30 tip-off. Let's see. Dennis hopping in. I want to see a new guy. I want to see how deep our bench really is. Dennis, we're not going to know how deep our bench is until the regular season. You're just not. But I would think if Mike Brown plays this the way I think he will play it tonight, I think you're going to see a lot of the end of the bench. I think you're going to see extended minutes there. And if I'm Mike Brown, I'm getting Malik Monk out there. I understand he's part of that group that you want to make sure he doesn't get hurt, but Malik's been fairly durable. Only one notable injury here in Sacramento, which was at the midway point of the season last year, which tremendously hurt their chances of making the playoffs. But remember, Malik was away from the team for a couple of games, and he did not play well in Utah. So I want to get him out there. I want to get that taste out of his mouth as well. And the wild card becoming, what's everybody else going to do? Is Doug McDermott going to get some minutes? Can the Kings defend? Tonight is going to be a very good test of the Kings' perimeter defense. The Clippers are a team that like to do a lot of pick and roll. They like to spread you out. Certainly a healthy dose of ISO when James Harden's on the court. They'll deviate, in my opinion, a little bit from that tonight, but they're still going to try to run that same stuff. So we've seen the trouble the Kings have had this preseason defending on the ball. Too many straight line drives. I have had a little bit of criticism for Keon Ellis. I don't think Keon has played particularly well in this preseason defensively. I think there's a different level to him, and I think we saw that last year. So tonight, if the starters play, can Keon get back to that normal level of defense where he's fighting through the screens? Because coming into the season, I truly felt that was Keon's job. I thought that is the right type of player to have in the starting lineup that the Kings were projecting out, which has been your starting lineup so far in the first 4 games. However, I'm not so sure with the 3-point shooting now. And the 3-point shooting, anybody that is overly concerned, anybody that's ringing an alarm bell about the 3-point shooting, I would say chill out a little bit. It's going to come up. I'm actually very happy with the number of 3-pointers the Kings have been shooting. 38 last game. I think the numbers should be between 35 and 40. Now, DeMar DeRozan had an excellent first game. And we know that came out perfect, 6 for 6 from the field. What does he do? He's slowed down a little bit, and you do have to take it with a grain of salt. I don't think DeMar's ever played at a pace like this or played with a team that is trying to play at a pace that the Kings are playing. The Kings took 105 shots against Utah. That's probably not going to happen in the regular season. I would be surprised if they regularly got over 100 shots. But I think that pace is still important, and pace while being controlled. The turnovers in Utah, everybody that's looking at the record, I keep pointing to some of the good things that I have seen from this team, especially the points of emphasis for Mike Brown. 32 assists, 11 turnovers last game against Utah. Utah turned the ball over 20 times, and the Kings made them pay for that. They capitalized on points off of turnovers, but I'm tremendously looking to see what the balance is going to be between this starting lineup. And when Kevin gets healthy, I think Mike Brown could give him a look. Now, I think the bench is probably best for Kevin, but Mike Brown's been very loyal to Kevin Huerter over the years. So we will see. It's what the preseason is for. Dennis says Keon fights. Yes, he does. In fact, I say it all the time on this show. I think Keon is a better defender getting through screens. He gives De'Aaron Fox the ability to get off of the lead guard. And think about how important that is in the Western Conference when you're dealing with James Harden, when you are dealing with SGA, Luka Doncic, the different lead guards that are powerful, that are physical. And Keon, although undersized, he's able to fight through it a little bit better than De'Aaron. Now, the flip side of that, which is the positive, that frees De'Aaron up to do what he does best, which is help defense, be able to play a little bit off the ball, kind of play that free safety role where you're able to get steals, get deflections. As we sit today, the Kings would be leading the NBA in deflections. Now, deflections are a little bit of a slippery slope. And this is why. Because a deflection very easily can be an overplay. If you don't tip that ball and you overplay it, it's fake hustle. And the other guy blows by you. And we've seen a lot of that in the preseason as well. And that, again, is what the preseason is for. It is definitely to get things intact. Baki chiming in on the Clippers logo. This team's logo changing. That is happening all over the place, is so stupid. I have no words. Tradition, people, tradition. Baki, it's money, my man. Hey, when you open up a new building, Baki, that's what you do. You change the logo, you alter it. It's the start of a new era. Look at what happened when the Kings opened up the G1C. What did they do? They changed. They came out with a couple of different new logos. In fact, do y'all remember when they gave out free Kings tattoos when the logos were released? Did anybody get a free Kings tattoo? I know somebody that got one. Did anybody else out here in the chat get one of those? But it's part of basketball, part of marketing, Baki. Get used to it. That's why there's so many different alternate uniforms as well. Dennis weighing in on it as well. Flores, what's up, man? Welcome in. I acknowledge me. Hope you are having a great Thursday. Kings and the Clippers tonight from Los Angeles, wrapping up the preseason. Kings 0-4 on the preseason. Doug McDermott, will he get some minutes in this game? What will that look like? And again, if you're just joining us, I'll give you the update on Dougie. I spoke to a couple of sources, and this deal came together on Tuesday night, is what I am hearing. That's when things got a little bit more firm. That's when Doug, who previous to Tuesday night, let me clear that up because that's important. Tuesday night is when this deal came together. And my understanding from what I'm hearing, it had nothing to do with the Kings' three-point shooting this preseason. It was not a panic move. In fact, there had been some talks going back and forth between the two camps, and Doug had a couple of different options. And ultimately, it sounds like he chose the Kings as the best option for his game right now at 32. And I think it's actually a really good move for him because, again, you can talk about a liability on defense. You can talk about his age. You can talk about all those different things. But he has experience playing the DHO game. He has played with Domantas Sabonis before, so he understands that. And I think the way that his game flows, he has gym range. So when he gets open, teams have to make a move. You have to guard him. Now, don't expect him to play 20, 30, minutes a night. Don't expect 20 points a game for Doug McDermott. That's not going to be his role on this team. In fact, I think he's probably, if you look at the rotation, the projected rotation when everybody is healthy, Doug's probably your 11th guy. So if he can be a little bit of a fill gap in maybe 40, 50, 60 games, get you 8 to 10 minutes a game and hit a 3 here and there, that's going to help this team out a lot, because that's something the teams have, or the Kings missed last year. They did not have that consistently with Sasha Vezenkov. Let's see, exactly a tip can go the other team as well. Well, it's not just the tip, it's the overplay, but you're right, Dennis. There's I'll never forget, it wasn't even Coach Fisher, it was my high school coach. They'd call it fake hustle, and you get pulled out of the game. You could be playing your butt off defensively and all over your guy, but much like a defensive back in football, if they try to jump a route and you miss that and your guy is able to get the ball and go by you, it's done. It's a problem. Now, the Kings are doing it at a good level right now, a very good level. But you have to be cognizant of that, because being on balance for this team defensively is so much more important than a lot of other teams, because you don't have, outside of Keegan Murray, that stopgap defender, that guy that you can count on every single possession for things to go well for the Kings defensively. People need to be in the right spots. The communication has to be there. I mean, De'Aaron Fox, I'll give him this. He made a couple of freaky plays last year defensively. It was late in the season. He recovered. He actually, Dennis, the exact play that we are talking about, fake hustle, De'Aaron had that where he flew by and somehow he recovered with his back arm and stole the ball backhanded like that. It was one of the best defensive plays I've ever seen him make. But anyways, yes, it does go both ways. Cody, what's up, my man? Do the fans in New Orleans boo the Broncos coach Sean Payton tonight? You know, Cody, I don't know enough about that relationship. I don't see how you would boo Sean Payton. Would you boo him? What's the chat think? I mean, he brought you a Super Bowl after all. I don't know. I kind of see that far-fetched, but they very well may. Who knows? Who knows? I know Drew Brees. There was some good stuff going around the internet yesterday. Drew Brees is trying to get the Saints fans to do this 10-part chat. And there was a lot of different videos, funny things made off of that. Like, you expect us to remember that? So I think you're going to have a segment, Cody, that boos him just to boo him. The same segment that boos anybody that's no longer a New Orleans Saint. But I think your seasoned Saint fans will probably recognize him. I do. Alberto, what's up, my man? Welcome in today. You can have a hell yeah. Does the addition of Doug mean that Herter is going to be traded? No. So the question is, do you think that the addition of Doug McDermott means Kevin Herter's on his way out of here? Absolutely not. They're in two completely different positions. The one similarity that they have right now is that they could be in Mike Brown's bench rotation. That is the only similarity, because the big ask right now that we don't know about yet is whether or not Kevin Herter is going to be able to play a little bit of that 3 position, because this preseason, the only guys playing the 4, with the exception of the lineup we saw, it was Alex Len. Was it Len and Sabonis on the floor at the same time? I want to say it was the 2 of them, but there was also a different lineup that was a little bit funky. But outside of Keegan Murray and DeMar DeRozan, you've had nobody that can play the 4, because not Alex Len, but Trey Lyles has been hurt. So no, I think they're completely indirect moves. Now, Doug's contract, I will say this: if a bigger move, which everybody I've talked to, yes, DeMar has played some 4 this preseason, Dennis. Yes, he has. But everybody I've talked to has said they're not expecting this to be a precursor to a bigger move immediately. But I will go on the record and say this: Doug McDermott, he's kind of a guy, he's a journeyman. If you look down what he's done and who he's played for over his NBA career. Last year, he played 64 games between two teams, 46 with the Spurs, 18 with the Pacers. The year before that, or he spent 2 years with the Spurs. After that, 3 with the Pacers, 1 with the Mavericks, 1 with the Knicks, 1 with the Thunder, 2 with the Bulls. And well, he started his career in Chicago. So he's been around, but even at 32 years old, if you're able to shoot the basketball, especially for a contender, and Doug is not a difference maker for any team in the NBA. Anybody thinking that he's going to be a difference maker, that's not what this is. He simply gives you a layer of depth on the end of that bench at the tail end of Mike's rotation. However, if a bigger deal did come available, I think Doug is a guy that can be traded. I think there is some value there for a contender possibly, but no, this is not a bigger move or affects Kevin Huerter whatsoever, in my opinion. And I've heard nothing along those lines that may indicate that. I think Mike Brown and the Kings staff has a lot of confidence in Kevin bouncing back. And I think that there's a lot of faith that Kevin is going to play a decent role for this team. It looks like it's going to start off the bench, but even if it's back in the starting lineup, there is a lot of belief in the building that Kevin Huerter can make an impact on this team. How long have we heard about trade rumors with him? He's talked about it. He went through it all last season. Harrison Barnes went through the same, eventually traded, but you never know. You never know. It all depends on how this team starts. It depends on what they look like. And, the one concern from the preseason is you could say there's similarities or a little bit of a copy of some of the bad basketball that we saw last year from Sacramento. And if that's the concern, I understand it. It's what we saw against Portland. The Kings did not show up against the Trailblazers, and that was very atypical of them for other games last year. And yes, no headband Kevin. Right now, Dennis, I would say Kevin Huerter is after DeMar DeRozan being asked to play a little bit of that 2-3 position once he's healthy. Now, the Kings have been filling in with Mason Jones right now, who's definitely undersized for that position. You've definitely seen Isaac Jones. And here's the guy that we're not talking enough about. I don't know about everybody else, but I have been extremely impressed with Jordan McLaughlin. What Jordan McLaughlin has done in 2 games for this team, because for me, the expectations for him were low. My expectations, not the coaching staff, not the front office. Did not play much in Minnesota, did shoot a decent percentage, but didn't have a high quantity of the threes. But the last 2 games, he's come in and he's done the little things. You look at his stat line last game, I thought it was perfect. It's exactly what you need off the bench for this team. And he is a guy, he is basically your Chris Duarte right now. He is the guy, and I know he's a little bit undersized. He's only 5'11", but remember, the Kings are small. They're really small. But his line the other night against Utah, it's great. 4 of 9 from the field. He gets you 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals. He was a +4 overall, gives you 9 points. And on top of that, he was all over the damn place. He was everywhere on the court. He affected the game. Didn't necessarily show up in the stat line, but he affected the game in a positive way for the Kings. So he is one of those guys that's been filling in there as well. No headband Kevin. Yes, Kevin is doing away with the headband this year. Flores, what's the next logical move? By the way, if you want to get in on the show, I would love to have you. Here is the code if you want to call in. Also, not sure he's going to be able to join us, but I've been talking today with Law Murray, the Clippers staff writer for The Athletic. He was hoping to join the show so we could talk some Kings and Clippers, learn a little bit more about the expectations down there in Los Angeles, the opening of the new building. But remember, before we came to air, there was some breaking news about Kawhi Leonard being out indefinitely, so I'm sure that is affecting that. But hopefully, he will be able to join us at some point during today's show. Would love to have him on here. Let's see. What's the next logical move for the Kings? I still feel like a backup player is needed for Fox. Yeah, it's going to be, I think it's going to be Monk, and it's going to be Monk and Fox at times. It's going to vary during the season, depending on the matchups. Now, I will say this. That's where I go back to Jordan McLaughlin. Through 2 games, Jordan McLaughlin is the closest thing that I have seen to a true point guard on this team. In fact, it's a probably unfair comp to the other player, but his game is reminiscent a little bit of Patty Mills to me. Now, Patty Mills is an NBA champion. That's high praise, and he is a veteran. He's been in the league for many years. But Jordan's game has looked like that, a willingness to do the things other guys do not, pushing the ball, IQ through the roof. And by the way, Doug McDermott, IQ through the roof. He is a coach's son. His dad is still the head coach at Creighton. So the IQ is there with him. Dennis chiming in, and I understand this. Fans are not happy. Colby Jones and Mason Jones, they want them off the team. They feel they aren't serious. Well, I've not heard a lot about Mason Jones. Remember, Mason was a 2-way last year. Colby Jones, that's a different story. He is under delivering, and I think the expectation was you would see some growth from him this year. And there's an argument, Jerry and I talked about it on Tuesday, that he has possibly regressed a little bit. And maybe at this point, this stop in the NBA will not be for him, but the Kings have him signed for 4 years. So what do you do there? Mason, Coach Brown is very high on Mason as a player and as a personality. And when I say player, what he brings to the team as a whole, he's kind of that. You guys remember the 02 days, Lawrence Funderburk, the guys, Mateen Cleaves, the bench mob. Mason gives you a flavor of that. And he did that last year for a team that was relatively quiet. And I covered Mason closely in Stockton last season, and you can't help but meet Mason at his energy. He's had a hell of a ride to get to where he's at right now in Sacramento. He's lost a ton of weight. He's improved a lot, but you are right. Mason is not there. Now, I do like Mason's confidence, but I think he's got to reel it in. What you're seeing is the transition. And the problem is because the Kings have injuries, those guys are getting more playing time than they probably would have in preseason. In fact, if I had to go a step further, I would say Boogie Ellis looks better than both of them. Boogie Ellis. What do you guys think about that? And I stand by it. He's shooting the highest clip outside of Alex Len, because Alex only has 1 attempt from beyond the 3-point line this season, or this preseason, I should say. Boogie's got the NBA body. The game does not look like it's too fast for him. Now, Boogie is nowhere near getting minutes on this team, but if I'm constructing the roster and I'm looking strictly off of the basketball and not considering the financials, I like what Boogie has done better. And I know I need to go back to this really quick. The question was, what's the next move? Let's see, the next logical move for the Kings. It's probably a sit and wait. I know I didn't answer that, Flores. I think you sit and hold. You've got to get a sample size of this team. Now you got to get everybody healthy, and hopefully you don't have any more injuries. Grant usually goes by about 25 games. I'm okay going about 20 games where I'm ready to make some judgments about the team, because that's the quarter point of the season for all intents and purposes. At that point, if this team is not there, then you do need to be aggressive and you need to look to make moves, and you probably need to take some risks. Look back at the late 90s. The Kings had a good thing going. They were on the way up. And guess what? They traded Jason Williams to get Mike Bibby. And look at how that changed things for that team. Now, you don't make any rash decisions either, but this is not a year that Monty McNair can sit and hold. The past 2 trade deadlines, that is arguably a place you could criticize Monty McNair. And I have criticized Monty McNair openly about the past 2 trade deadlines, because 2 teams that were behind the Kings in the standings in the Western Conference the past 2 years made, I would say, fringe moves. Nothing that was earth-shattering, nothing that changed the composition of their team, but very good complementary moves. And what happened to both of those teams? Last year, the Mavericks were in the NBA Finals. The year before that, the Lakers were in the Western Conference Finals. So you got to be ready, but it's got to be the right move. You're going to have to be bold, unfortunately, in my opinion. But at this point, you wait to see how this pans out with these guys healthy. And here's the other thing that you do. The next immediate step is we talk about the two-way guys. As we talk about the end of the bench and the development of Mason and Colby, you are paying attention to what other NBA teams are doing. Everybody else has to cut down to 15. So if there is another guy out there that becomes available, just like Doug McDermott, again, I'll go back to that. The people that I talked to that are plugged into the team said that was not a knee-jerk reaction to the three-point shooting. That had been an ongoing discussion, and it was firmed up on Tuesday night once Doug had made some decisions because he had some options available to him in terms of fit. So you are paying attention to who else could come available once teams get down to 15. So that is the next logical move, and obviously getting down to 15 if you're Sacramento. Adam, what's up, dude? Hope you are having a great day. By the way, it's a beautiful day outside. I love this fall weather. Favorite time of the year. And it is perfect. And I mean literally perfect weather for brunch. So don't forget about Bennett's, all three of their locations in Sacramento, Roseville, Rockland, and their weekend brunch. It is killer. 2 entrees and a bottle of champagne for under $50. This is it. You get to watch football. The wife gets to have a couple of mimosas. Maybe you partake in one. Somebody's got to drive home unless you walk or you Uber. You get my point. Sundays are church and brunch days, and this time of year, football days too. And nobody does it better than Bennett's. One of my favorite places to spend the weekends. Also, check out their dinner menus. Incredible. Lots of different options. Bring your appetite. Prime cuts of seafood and steak. Napes talks about the redfish all the time. I love the steak and frites on the menu there. And also happy hour 2 to 6, Monday through Friday, sips and taste. They've got 60 different wines by the glass. What I'm telling you is get to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Check out the menus. Look into the specials a little bit more that I just told you about. And also make a reservation. You can do it all right there at Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Huge thanks to them for sponsoring today's episode of the King's Court. Kings Clippers tonight. Are we ready to wrap up the preseason and move into the next phase? 7 days from now, we will be talking about Kings basketball for real. That's when it starts. And don't forget, this is the place for full coverage. Game day, this is where you want to be. I'll be handling the pregame responsibilities. Jerry Reynolds will be joining us at halftime. And then Grant and I will wrap things up at the end of the night. The post-game shows are so much fun around here, and we're going to be implementing some new things as well into that. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We would love to have you back for the season. Grant and I will be back tonight wrapping up the Kings and the Clippers. So 7:30 tonight. Still looking for an explanation as to why LA teams get to start at 7:30. Nonetheless, let's see. So happy we got Jordan. He makes his shots. Dennis, do you do talk to text, my man? I think you do talk to text sometimes. Let's see. Alberto, yes. Love what I'm seeing from Boogie. He's composed. The game is clearly a little bit slower for him than it is Colby Jones. And Colby has a year under him between the G League and the NBA. So you do have to worry about that a little bit. Lawrence Funderburk. That's a pull, man. Lawrence freaking Funderburg. Baby Cakes, what's up, my man? Shout out to the greatest Royal King, Big O, Oscar Robinson. Good pull, my man. Really good pull. Let's see, Alberto Rhino, not to get off topic, but what are your thoughts on the NLCS being shown on FS1 and not on Fox? FS1 is drowning, Alberto. That's what it is. FS1 is absolutely drowning. So they are trying to drive people to that channel. And I understand there's a paywall behind it. The ratings are important. You get better ratings on network TV, but we continue to see paywalls go up with the major sports, and get ready for it here in Sacramento. I think it's coming in the NBA. Specifically with the way that we get our regional games, how most of us watch the Sacramento Kings night in, night out, because they're not on national TV a ton. So it's a changing time. We had playoff games in the NFL that were behind a paywall. You've got the England games, the national or the international games behind a paywall. And I don't believe it's the first year Fox has done it. But FS1, they don't have the big conferences for football. They don't. They do a lot of the late night football with the West Coast teams. And then a lot of their programming too. It's just it's to me a little bit of a knockoff of ESPN. When ESPN zigs, FS1 zigs too instead of zags. So I think that's probably the reason, but I get it. Yeah, Alberto says the LA traffic. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Definitely what it is. But you know what? Deal with it. The rest of us have to get to the arena at 7, right? Got to get there at 7. Definitely we'll have a glass of wine by you. We will be doing, get this, we're going to do a game where we have a watch party at Bennett's. We would love to have you come out. We are going to broadcast from there. We'll make sure that it's King's road game, so anybody can attend, and we will mingle, watch a game, do the broadcast from there, have a good time, Grant and I. So we are looking forward to that. Cody, Chargers versus Cardinals Monday is exclusively on ESPN Plus. There you go. You know what was especially bad, by the way, when ESPN and DirecTV were having the disagreement, and that bled in to Monday Night Football. I know people that canceled their DirecTV over that, and DirecTV ended up trying to divert viewers to different applications where you could get free trials so you could still get it. I know the Niners Jets game, I was scrambling to try to get my digital antenna to work because I never need to use it for that game. But good point. Good point. We are still getting that figured out. Grant's got to be back in town. So we will announce it as the season goes along. But I would guess probably near the midway point of the season, somewhere in that area. Mostly depends on Napes' schedule. So again, Kings Clippers tonight. We were hoping that we were going to have a guest today. Would have really enjoyed that. Law Murray, who covers the Clippers. He's the staff writer for The Athletic, covering them, was hoping to join us. But again, with the breaking news, I completely understand. In fact, Law, if this gets back to you, you're listening, you're watching, thank you for even considering coming on the show. We will make sure to catch up during the regular season. Really appreciate you, sir. So anyways, Kings Clips tonight. Which way you going? We know what we're looking for. To me, again, the big question is, what is Mike Brown going to do with the starters? Now, if this game gets out of hand, you're pulling the starters out. You're not trying to come back. You're not playing 4 quarters. But I don't know. I'm really torn. I think that Mike Brown was rubbed the wrong way. In fact, Jerry Reynolds agreed with me with Malik Monk's comments. Do you guys remember that? We went over this a couple days ago. After the Portland loss, this is what Malik Monk had to say to the media as to why he thought the Kings came out poorly against Portland. Here's Malik.
I think the guys are tired, and it showed last night. We didn't have any legs, so we'll figure it out. We've been doing this for a while, so I think we'll be all right.
And just a couple minutes later, the media got to Mike, and you can hear Mike didn't know exactly how to respond. I think it caught him completely off guard. Here's Mike Brown.
We had a day off the day before, and maybe they are tired. I hope not. That's a little scary, But I think it might be more maybe mental fatigue, because these guys are like high caliber athletes, and we haven't practiced them too hard. Even our last contact practice, I pulled Malik and Fox and Domas out.
So there you go. Remember, Malik, I went over this before. Malik missed a couple of games because of a personal issue. So he should have had fresh legs. Now, there's a big difference, again, between training camp shape, preseason shape, and regular season shape. In fact, once you get to the regular season, you've actually, shape-wise, you're up a little bit, but health-wise, you're down. Training camp is the healthiest those guys will be all season long. So definitely an adjustment. I get the alarm bells. The Kings shooting a very poor percentage, just over 25% or just over 24%. What is it exactly? It is, I don't want to be wrong there, 25.2% from beyond the arc in the preseason. To me, that will certainly come around. Yeah, Alberto, that was something, and Jerry agreed with me. You got to keep that in house. And Mike Brown and Malik have a fun relationship. It's a different relationship. They like to kind of bite at each other's heels sometimes, but there's a ton of mutual respect there and a ton of open communication and healthy communication. And it's been fun to watch Malik he has held the coaches accountable in training camp. He was getting his hands on copies of the practice plans. And, if a segment went over, coach, and he would be in their faces. There's a video clip of him doing this. But that you got to be careful, because the rest of it, and Coach Brown was asked a couple follow-up questions after this. Coach Brown is as tuned in as anybody with everything going on in that building. And this was his answer when he was asked 2 questions later about Trey Lyles. Listen to it.
I don't even know if Trey's playing one-on-one with coaches and stuff like that. So you guys would have to, Shannon can give you the download, but I can't.
He doesn't even know if Trey Lyles is playing with coaches. Yeah, I think his mind was just somewhere else. So probably a bad look, not a good look. And look, what happened against the Warriors at the G1C, first preseason game? The crowd gave Keegan Murray a standing ovation for guarding Steph Curry and staying in front of Steph Curry. So it's the hard work, it's the hustle, it's the effort, it's the attitude. It's all those things that this fan base lives for on top of winning. They want to win. Conversely, you want to piss off the fan base? Say you're tired just a week into training camp. It's a difficult look. You got to keep it internal. Like outside life fatigue, again, Alberto, I feel for these guys, 100% feel for them. You are in the public eye. People think professional athletes have it completely easy because they make millions of dollars. They play a game that all of us wish we had more time to play for free. They get to do that for a living, but along with that comes a lot of things that many of us could not even wrap our minds around if we knew everything that goes into it. And, I guess everybody deals with stuff, and you do got to kind of put that to the side. I was a little bugged last season when that came up with De'Aaron. When De'Aaron had his bad 6-week span, remember a lot of talk about, well, he just had his first son and his wife is making him stay up with the baby at night. I think you have to tread carefully as a pro athlete, and De'Aaron didn't release that information. That was speculation. But as a pro athlete, you have to remember that fans go through things too. It's life. We're all dealing with it. So you got to find a way to kind of pull it in. Somebody probably watching this show had something difficult happen today and still had to go to work, right? So it's one of those balances, and it is a really tricky subject to dance around and talk about. But regardless, let's see. Kings fans want greatness from Keegan. Baby cakes. Keegan has been a huge bright spot this preseason. Little bit to be left desired with the 3-point shooting, but that will certainly come with time. I'm not questioning his shot. That does not go away. Shooting does not leave. But his aggression that he has shown this preseason on both sides of the floor, and on top of that, he's been aggressive with his playmaking. And seeing him, Keegan, if you want to talk about the stereotypical perfect growth curve for a rookie that's going to turn into a solid veteran, probably an all-star at some point, if not better, he is right on that curve. The way the people he's spending his time around, spent a ton of time around De'Aaron Fox last offseason. The way he's put weight on in the right places, the way he's learned how to use that weight, and you see that growth in him continue. And I think a lot of fans want to see it all come together at once. It will get there, but this young man is on such a great trajectory and has been an incredible bright spot. And the Kings got to start planning for him financially. That's going to be coming up, and that goes into all these different moves that fans are talking about if things do not go well to start this season off. So again, Kings and the Lakers tonight. The Kings formally announce the signing of Doug McDermott. We'll throw that up for you one more time. Really happy. I think it's a very good signing. Now, I'm really happy because it gives you an additional layer of depth. I am not really happy because Doug McDermott changes the team. He does not. But he certainly, as a guy that is a career over 40% shooter from beyond the arc and a durable player, somebody that the last 6 seasons has played a ton of games, regardless of the amount of teams that he has been on. He is a guy that can be a stopgap on nights when the ball is not falling. He is a guy that is familiar with the DHO. He is a guy that has a high basketball IQ. And according to my sources, he chose Sacramento out of a couple of different options. So I think he is in a good spot, and it is a great spot for both parties, especially the Kings. You get him at a good deal. We're still waiting for the details on the money. Probably a veteran's minimum. That has not come out yet, but he gives you that depth that you didn't have before that. Jalen McDaniels clearly was not working out for this team, and the coaches were underwhelmed with his play. And then also, if you just look physically at Jalen, nothing against Jalen. He's part of the SDSU basketball fam. Love the dude. But if you look at him physically and you look at what Coach Brown is asking these guys to do with their physical play, which has been a problem for the young guys. The young guys, Mason Jones, he's racked up a ton of fouls in the preseason, fouled out of the first preseason game. Learning how to play physical without fouling comes with that territory. But Jalen, he can't play physical. He's not built that way. He's a rim runner. He needs to be on a team that plays at a really high pace and plays more above the rim than the Kings actually do. And another bright spot besides Keegan Murray, Alberto chiming in on him. Keegan's the X Factor, Rhino. I have heard you guys talk about it. He is the unknown. We largely already know what everyone else brings to the table, certainly. And here's the other thing. A lot of people thought DeMar DeRozan was going to stunt Keegan Murray's growth. That was a popular opinion amongst the national media. And you look at the game against the Jazz when they get up 105 shots, Keegan Murray had 4 more shots than DeMar DeRozan in that game. Keegan finishes ultimately with 21. If he knocks down his normal 3-point percentage, he is going to give this team more than he did last year on the offensive end, and the opportunities will certainly be there. Let's see. Yep, definitely MVP. MVP. I don't know about that. Last night's impromptu conversation. What's up, Darren? How you doing, buddy? Darren and Cunha. Appreciate you checking in today, Friday Eve. Darren, congratulations. He is a new grandfather. Congratulations to you, Darren. Happy for you, buddy. First time grandfather. So very good. Your setup is way more pro than Haunted Horse. You know, I wasn't going to go there. I was not going to go there. Can anybody believe that Haunted Horse called out the King's Court setup? I don't want to pimp his show too much right here, but go watch the show that I do with him 3 days a week. And you tell me which one you rather put your eyes on for 60 to 90 minutes. I promise you it's this one in terms of the graphics and what we do. But I want to say really quick too, Domantas Sabonis, since we're talking about Keegan Murray, he has had, I've been impressed. I thought this guy kind of hit that place where he couldn't improve himself physically. And seeing him this preseason, he looks a little bit quicker. He looks a little bit more explosive. Did you see how high a couple times he got above the rim in Utah? You didn't see that a lot last season. And granted, it's a long season. And this is early in the season, but I've been very impressed with what Domas has been doing as well. Also, one of the things that I wanted to see from Domas was a little bit quicker with the decision making. I wanted to see him step into jump shots and do that at a little bit more of a consistent rate. He has done that. Now, the 3-point percentage, he's taken more in the preseason, has not turned out, but everybody has not been shooting the three ball well. I think those looks will be there. And there has been a few opportunities look-wise. He's missed guys, but Domas, another special guy. You got to say MVP there. He is your only all NBA guy on this team right now. So is anybody watching the starting five, by the way? I'm just curious. Anybody watching the starting five? Let's see. Oh, your son's first. Okay, there you go. Who dare calls out Haunted Horse? Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do it. It's a nice studio, Ryan. I would watch games there. Appreciate it, brother. Thank you, Alberto. It's not even the studio, though, Alberto. It's the screen, man. So we updated graphics, and we're going to keep doing this here on the King's Court. But I'm changing the graphics around. I will just say this. If you have ADD and you watch a Haunted Horse show, you're going to go nuts. You're not going to know what to do. So he's going to call my show out. Get the hell out of here, my man. Anyways, so we're kind of getting a little bit off the tracks here. Kings and Clippers tonight. Looking forward to it. Hopefully you guys are going to join us for pregame tonight. Grant and I will be back to wrap the night up. I was really hoping that Law Murray was going to be able to join us today. Clippers staff writer for The Athletic, but some breaking news came out, and Kawhi Leonard was announced that he's going to be out indefinitely to start the season. So I understand, and Law, again, appreciate him even trying to make the time for the King's Court. We will catch up at some point during the regular season. He was at shoot around this morning. No James Harden tonight for the Clippers. No Kawhi Leonard, obviously, for the Clippers. Kings still up in the air. What Mike Brown's going to do with the guys. What's your variety? Everybody has an opinion on what he should do. Coach Brown did say at practice on Monday, he wasn't opposed to playing the starters in both games, but he wouldn't be bothered either if the starters did not get 2 full games. And the starters did get a full game. A dress rehearsal was what that was in Utah the other night. The other questions, Doug McDermott, Dougie McBuckets, is he going to get some run tonight? Will he be ready to go? And as for the Clippers, brand new building, the Intuit Dome, that will be something to pay attention to. I know Gary Gerald, the G-Man, was commenting on the building earlier today when he was there for shoot-around. It's supposed to be something pretty special. So a lot of good stuff going. So anyways, all right. Anything that we missed today because I've been kind of all over the place just taking questions. Yeah, it is too bad. I feel tough. I feel bad for Kawhi. I feel really bad for Kawhi. It is not for a lack of effort. There's a really good article, by the way, that Law Murray, the staff writer for The Athletic for the Clippers, did on Kawhi. Go check that out. If you go to the Clippers page on The Athletic, if you have a subscription, go read that. I think it really details Kawhi's chronicles, and I know them firsthand as well. He's an SDSU guy. And yeah, I wish he could just get it together. I hate that he cannot have a healthy season. He's too good of a guy and too good of a player. Imagine what he would be able to do if he would have been able to stay healthy all this time. Speaking of health, a couple of points from last night in the NBA before we wrap up. I was pleasantly surprised to see the Chicago crowd give Lonzo Ball a huge ovation when he hit his first shot coming back for the first game in 2 years. He hit a three-pointer. The Chicago crowd went absolutely nuts for him. That was pretty cool. I do not hold Lonzo's dad against Lonzo. He has had a tough ride as well. And I was unsure how the Bulls fans were going to react to him because there's a lot of money. He opted in, but Bulls fans were definitely behind him. Good on them. Isaiah Hartenstein is out 5 to 6 weeks with a hand injury. Big news, huge news for the Western Conference. He was figuring to be a pretty big part of what Oklahoma City is going to do this year. I talked about it a little bit on the Kings Court shoot around this morning. The Kings do see Oklahoma City one time during that span, so he will likely not be playing in that game, or it might be right around when he's coming back. It's going to be close. The Kings play Oklahoma City. Let me go to it right now. They have Oklahoma City. I believe it's in November. Yes, November 25th. So that is going to be a close one. He's going to be right on the fringe of coming back. But the bigger point to that was not so much the injury, but the scheduling. Can you imagine how it could affect a team? The Kings played the Lakers 4 times before the end of December, 3 times in under 10 days in December. One injury like that could affect a division big time. So that points out a problem with the scheduling that we have kind of highlighted. Another thing that I noticed last night, Zach LaVine was on the floor for the Bulls last night. Didn't look bad. Did not look bad, but you definitely hold your breath every time that he's got the ball. You're worried he's going to get hurt. Look, here's what I have to say about Zach LaVine. The Kings would be crazy to bring Zach LaVine in. I've said it all along, but watching him play last night, if Tyrese Halliburton and De'Aaron Fox couldn't work together, Zach LaVine and De'Aaron Fox are not going to work together. So any Kings fans holding on to a little bit of hope that could happen, time to let go. You gotta let go. It would be, I think it would be if you're Monty McNair, you make that move, that's the end of your job in Sacramento, in my opinion, once it plays out. But Zach LaVine was back on the floor. Yes, it was sad news indeed. Patrick knows that as a Knicks fan. They lost him this year. I know I asked the question about the starting 5. I saw some answers to that. Great picture behind you of Jim Rome. Oh, you noticed that. That's Romey. Yes, Jim has been a very big influence on me. I had the opportunity to do a 5-minute segment back in 2017 with Jim when he came to Sacramento. Did it in studio with him, and I'm lucky enough to have a very good relationship with his crew and a lot of the clones, and he has been a big influence on me. Between Jim Rome and Grant, those two have been very influential in my decision making and my decision to pursue this as a career. So it means a lot to me. That's why it hangs on my wall. It's not so much a show off thing. Everything that I have in my studio means something to me. Nothing there is for show, but there will be one thing for show. I do have one of those Golden One Center statues coming that has the beam on it. They gave out to the season ticket holders. So thank you to Mr. Moss for hooking that up, by the way. He is the one taking care of that. So let's see. I think we're gonna wrap it up again. I wish that Law Murray could have joined us, staff writer for the Clippers at The Athletic, but we will catch up, like I said, at some point during the season. Patrick, great to see you as always. Said that before. Baby Cakes Hartenstein has Achilles problem too. Big guys, they always got a little something on. He's a tough dude though. He is a tough player, so I'm sure he will be back sooner rather than later. No. No. You know, those are the kids that I feel bad for. Those are the kids that get taken advantage of. Lonzo's dad took advantage of him, in my opinion. Bad advice. Smothering. We talked about Jerry Jones. Put Lonzo's dad into the smothering, crazy girlfriend category. It happens all too often. Marvin Bagley was a big guy that had to deal with that. So it's too bad. But yeah, those shoes, garbage. Absolute garbage. Didn't somebody like break a leg in them? Or anyways, not going to get into his shoes. Not worth my time. Let's see. Baby Cakes, one more time. Kuzma available, a very friendly contract. Wizards need a point guard. Well, Kuzma's kind of been on the market for a while. I don't know that it's the Wizards shopping Kuzma. It's just if there's an offer there that makes sense for them, they're willing to entertain it, which can be true of really any NBA franchise. Now, when it comes to availability to the Kings have shown their hand there, and that matters. To me, that matters a lot. So the asking price goes up when a team knows that you want that player, when you have been chasing that player. And on the flip side, Kyle Kuzma could have came to Sacramento, and he didn't. So we don't know all the details behind that. I think that ship has sailed, but who knows? It's a long season. Anything could happen, and we will see what goes on. I'm sure there will be a couple moves that are surprising. There's some big players coming up for contracts, or at least coming up in that area. The Clippers, they're going to have to make a decision. I was going to ask Law that question today. Is that on the Clippers' radar? Kawhi Leonard, he has what left on his contract? He is, I have it right here in front of me. He is only signed through 26-27. So he is on the same path as De'Aaron Fox. So really the decision comes the year before 26-27. Next summer is when the Clippers are going to have to make that decision, because if Kawhi is not going to be in their long-term plans, guess what? You're going to want to get something back. You want to get max value. And the same goes for De'Aaron Fox. But again, all things way far out there. We got plenty of NBA season to talk about that. Join us after the game. Grant and I will be back. We may start the show a little bit early, depending on the game. The big question in this one, will Mike Brown give the starters significant run? It is the Kings. It is the Clippers from LA, 7:30 tonight. You do have to go to kings.com to watch the game. You have to live within 75 miles. If not, go get yourself a free trial of NBA League Pass. You can probably catch it there. No James Harden. We've already talked about that. No Kawhi Leonard. What's the second unit going to look like for the Kings? Expect them, regardless of whether the starters play or not, expect them to get some extended run. I will be very surprised if come the post-game show, we are talking about Mike Brown playing the starters like he did in Utah. Fingers crossed, nobody gets hurt tonight. That is my key to the game for your Kings. Enjoy the game tonight. Come back. Looking forward to having you all here. By the way, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Already 7.2 thousand of you that are subscribed. And make sure you're following me on the Kings Court on X, and you are subscribed to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Kings Court with Rhino. Get on the train now. I don't charge anything for it. I've had a lot of people say you should make it premium. I'm not doing it. You get Kings insider information. You get my sourced information every morning. During the season, you get a Kings Court shoot around. You had one this morning. We were talking about the game, talking about a couple of other things. I talked about the Doug McDermott situation, the fact that that was not a knee-jerk decision, and that really came together on Tuesday night, although discussions had been going a little bit before that, and Doug had been weighing his options. So go check it out, Spotify, Apple, wherever else you find your podcast, and join us back tonight. Can't wait. You guys know the deal. Go Kings. Light the damn beam. Hopefully the Kings get a win tonight. And again, no injuries. That is what is most important. Grant and I will be back probably around 10 o'clock. So make sure that you join us. Looking forward to it. The post-game show will be taking your calls. Also, a rant with Grant. You get to choose. You get to choose the rant for Grant. So be there. That is sponsored by EDH Motors. And yeah, looking forward to it. Have a great rest of the day. Enjoy Kings basketball tonight against the Clippers. See you after the game on the post-game show.